Well, with that being said, do we want to go ahead and kick this off today and get started? Um, like I said a few minutes ago, that we wanted to have an introduction to exercises for those of you that may never have participated in one, or for those of you that haven't done it recently, just to refresh your memory, so that you're aware of what to expect from the exercise at the Eden annual meeting. Got to get my slide deck to work. There we go. All right. So just to give you a brief overview, what we're going to talk about today are the different types of exercises. Then we're going to go into a little bit more detail about tabletop exercises specifically. We are also going to talk about exercise development when you're actually trying to develop these things. And of course, the documents involved in an exercise and how to prepare for an exercise. This is probably the most important thing to take away today so that you're ready for the annual meeting and you can be fully engaged. And then we'll finish up with exercise evaluation and what that process is going to look like when we get to the Eden annual meeting. Okay, so typically you have two different types of exercises. You may have an operations-based exercise, and this is what a lot of people really think about when they think about emergency management exercises. This can be anything like your fire drills that you may have experienced, growing up when you were in schools, or that your kids may be doing when they're in school now. Or even going a step further, the functional gets a little bit more in detail with the exercise, and it is kind of a mix. You have people in a room and they're all working together to solve a problem, and then you have a group off to the side that provides what we call injects as to change a scenario so that they can test their skills. Also, you may be most familiar with a full-scale exercise, specifically in your counties. We see these a lot with tornado type events at maybe schools or, all kinds of different scenarios that may play out. And you'll have, your sheriff's department, your fire department, your emergency medical system all getting involved into this exercise, and even extension. So that's where everybody actually comes out and does something. So that's the doing aspect of it. And then you have the next type of exercise is the discussion-based exercise. And this can be anything from a seminar to a workshop or to the tabletop exercise that I know a lot of us are very excited about at the annual meeting. And then, of course, you can have games as well. I don't know if you remember the movie War Games, I believe it was, from the 1980s. Shall we play a game? That's an example of an exercise. That's a game. So that's typically your two different types. And for the remainder of this presentation, we're going to focus on the discussion-based exercise, specifically the tabletop exercise. So I do want to give you a brief overview of the operations-based exercise documents, just in case you come across this in your counties. You'll have an exercise plan, which basically lays out what you're going to try to accomplish in the exercise. And then you're going to have a player handout, which is basically a summary of what to do, what to expect, that sort of thing. You may hear them talk about a measle. That's the master scenario events list. That is basically a prompt it's like a movie script. Think of it like that. They ask a question, there's an answer, and they're looking for a certain answer or kind of a similar answer, some action. And then of course there's the controller evaluator handbook. So that's typically for your operations based exercise documents. So now what we're all here for, a tabletop exercise. This type of exercise is discussion based. And it's done very informally. We usually do exercises at this level to try to figure out if our plans are working, what's absent from our plans, and how can we improve. That's really what we're trying to figure out. And it's done informally so that we can talk it out and, and learn from each other. And for Eden, it's going to be a little bit different because it's going to be heavy on the extension side. And as far as discussion, which is what we were trying to accomplish, when you participate in these things in your counties, it may be a bit different. There may be one aspect that they're trying to accomplish and involve extension in. So it wouldn't be as heavy. But this one really is a chance for us, all of us in Eden, to really test our skills and see what everybody's doing and learn if there's an opportunity for us to do something better and all of those good things. And the key thing to remember about any exercise, it's a no-fault environment. And that just means that nobody's in trouble if they mess up. It's okay. It's not a mistake. Maybe you're just doing something differently and maybe it works better. So that's the key with all of this. We want to challenge assumptions about our planning and all the plans that we have out there. And again, it comes back to learning new things and learning our roles and responsibilities if we're new. We want to test our capabilities. And we want to improve our communication, not just when we get back home, but also with Eden as well, because you never know when we're going to need each other's assistance and help in the future. And it's a chance for us to truly come together and understand each other and how each organization kind of works things in their state and their level of involvement. Okay, as far as exercise development, your planning meetings, and we did this for this exercise. You want to involve those that have subject matter knowledge or your subject matter experts. And this is where we really delve down into the details of the exercise and kind of pull it apart and make sure it's going to work and make sure it stays general enough to involve everyone, so that, no one feels left out or anything like that. And a key with this, if you are involved in these planning meetings, in the future, make sure that you don't share the information in the planning meetings with those who are going to be participating in the exercise. Because a lot of times, again, this is about testing the knowledge of those that are coming and how it's going to work and all of those things. It's very simple. It's like any teacher that's, getting ready to test their students. Most don't give away the test before they actually have the test. So think of it in those terms when you're developing the exercises. So some documents for a tabletop exercise, and there's a whole lot in the situation manual, and that's what that acronym at the top there is, the SITMAN, what it's often referred to as. Within the situation manual, you're going to have an agenda, your schedule of events. going to tell you your purpose and your scope, what you're trying to test. That's literally what that part is. It's going to talk about the design objectives, and everything that's what we're trying to accomplish within the exercise and really look at. Then we get into the exercise structure and how it's going to be laid out. And a lot of the times, as far as structure of the exercise, you'll have 3 modules. Now, those modules can last as long as you want to, or as short of a time as you want to. But all of that will be laid out in the schedule of events, so you know what we're trying to achieve time-wise. The instructions for exercise conduct. This is handy to read, but it pretty much stays the same within your exercises, particularly with a tabletop exercise. It'll go over the roles and responsibilities within the exercise, and it's going to talk about the assumptions and the artificialities of the exercise. And I want to take a minute and talk about this for just a second. In any exercise that you participate in, it's important to remember that you may not have all the information that you want, or all the information that's necessary to be able to do what you need to do or what you think you need to do. My key and my tip to all of you is don't fight the exercise. Go with the information that you're presented with and make the best guess you can. No exercise is going to be absolutely perfect. There are going to be some artificialities of the exercise that are out there. And that's why it's important to actually go through and take the time to read the assumptions of the exercise, because it may be assuming that certain actions are going to take place. The exercise rules, typically with a tabletop exercise, you're going to have table groups. And you'll want to sit with folks that are not all like you. That's how we best learn and get more knowledge. So, and what I mean by that is, like, the agriculture folks maybe sit with the FCS folks and the community development folks and all of that. So you've got a well-rounded picture at your table groups. I know we like to clump together, but we'll kind of want to try to avoid that as much as possible at the actual exercise at the annual meeting. Then the biggest thing that's going to come next, and this is really the meat and potatoes of the situation manual, is the scenario. Okay, so you'll have a scenario, it'll be laid out by module, and then you'll go through and there'll be questions after the scenario. This is what you're going to do in your table groups, is you're going to go through these questions, and you'll have a table captain that'll go through and ask the questions and answer them as they come up and they pertain specifically to your knowledge area with an extension. And another thing that I would urge all of you to recognize in particular with this exercise is you may have people that are coming from the county, there may be county agents, or you may have people that are coming from the perspective of the state level of expertise. So don't let that confuse you, just recognize it for what it is when you're in the actual exercise. That's why another reason we say there's no wrong answers in exercises. So with that, that's primarily the biggest parts of your situation manual. The references and the appendices, these can be very helpful to you So if there are references, make sure you take a look at them. There's always a list at the end of what the acronyms mean that are used in the situation manual. So if you come across an acronym and you forgot what it meant, but it was on an earlier page, you can always go quickly to the appendices and references section, and it will have a list of acronyms and what they mean. So that's what all is involved in the actual document of the situation manual. So to prepare for the tabletop exercise, it's real easy for me to say, review all plans. Well, this is what we're talking about. When we're talking about our plans, this can be your comprehensive emergency management plan, whether it's a county plan and or a state plan. So I encourage you, if you're a county agent and you don't have a copy of your county's plan, please go get a copy of it so you know what to expect and what your county expects for extension to do. And by the same measure, at the state level, I encourage you to get a copy of your state's comprehensive emergency management plan. There are quite a few that are out there that you can pull up online that may not be your county. If you've never seen one before, they do exist. You can take a look at them out there. You can simply type in comprehensive emergency management plan. And usually it'll pull it up so you can take a look as to what all is involved. And they're usually organized by what we call emergency support functions and emergency management. So take a look at those, and usually you can do a quick search if it's a PDF and just use the good feature of Control Find or Control F and type in extension, and it'll go through the whole document and pull up what parts of the plan are relevant to extension. Hazard mitigation plans. These plans are fantastic at outlining the different hazards that exist in your state and in your county. Here in our state, in Mississippi, we have a state hazard mitigation plan, and we have county hazard mitigation plans, and then it's also done regionally as well. So every state's a little bit different, and some extension services even do the state hazard mitigation planning for their home state. So those plans are very useful in getting ready for an exercises and understanding what could be out there as far as your hazards. They're a great document. Also, if you have any internal response and or recovery plans to your organization, these can be very helpful to review and understand what's supposed to take place and the processes involved. I'll give you an example of one of ours. We have a plan for those that are going to deploy, whether it be for ag assessments or ag work relief, and it deals with everything that they may need to take with them, down to the number of clothing based on the length of the deployment, what types of clothing, and what kind of mitigation measures they need to expect based on the time of year, whether it be it's mosquito season and we need to take our mosquito repellent, or whether it's summer and we need to take our sunscreen, hats, all of that kind of thing. So those types of plans can be very helpful as well. So you'll want to review those before you come to the exercise, because it just gives you an overall understanding of what to expect and how things should work in your home state. Also, understand your internal organizational structure. for extension. There are different models of extension that are out there, and I would venture to say that they're probably all a little bit different. So understand how yours functions, and what model you're working with. Also, if you are ever offered the opportunity to go to emergency management training, I cannot encourage you enough to go do these trainings. Whether it's a command training or it's simply taking classes that you're interested in at the Emergency Management Institute or the Center for Domestic Preparedness or TEACS, whatever it may be, increasing your knowledge. If it's free, go. That's key. That's very important because it's just going to make you better at really going through this stuff, and it's going to make things easier if something were to ever happen in your community. Also, I would encourage you to pursue professional development training for improving your foundational skills that can improve your knowledge, whether these be FCS related, whether these be agriculture related, whether they be community development related. These are fantastic trainings to go through. Our professional development committee through Eden works very hard to ensure that we give you good content, and we try to make it relevant for what you may need to know out there. And we really depend on our committees a lot too to help kind of figure out where we need to be with those and what we need to be providing. So if you think there's a great topic out here, please let someone on the professional development committee know. Participate in exercises to improve skills. The great thing is you've all signed up to do this at the Disaster Education Network annual meeting. It will be a great opportunity to improve your skills, learn what others are doing, make new connections, and really improve some things. So this is the best stuff that you can do that's out there as far as getting ready for this exercise, and the planning component, that's so key. And then, of course, increasing your knowledge. So the tabletop exercise structure, and we've talked about this a little bit already. I don't know if I went to the wrong slide or if my slides got out of order. But you have your objectives, your core capabilities, your details of the threats or hazards. We have the 3 modules. They vary in length of time to complete. They're flexible. You have a hot wash and an AAR, and that's what we're about to get to. The hot wash. The hot wash, basically what we're trying to do this, and we'll do this in the room at the very end of the exercise at the annual meeting, is we'll talk first, identify the 3 biggest strengths that you can come up with. And we'll usually do this in a group discussion. We'll want to know what those are. And that's basically what worked best in the exercise from the extension perspective. So that's what we're trying to capture. The areas of improvement. Essentially, what areas could be improved upon in your agency's plan. What was learned in the exercise that could be utilized in your exercise, in your agency. So that's what we're trying to really focus on as far as our hot wash. And that's usually pretty quick, and they're usually pretty easy to identify. But be thinking about that when you go through the actual exercise. Keep it simple. What worked well? Where can we improve? That's what we're looking for. So after action reporting, and again, if you're part of that planning team, you'll usually want to do an AAR. And this is an after action conference, and it includes key personnel and exercise planning. And we come up with the findings, what came out of the exercise, and if there are any corrective actions that need to be addressed. And for us in Eden, that may be as simple as, oh, well, we talked about this, but maybe we should spend a little more time doing some professional development on this training or training on this subject. So we learn some things. This is how we learn and exercise so that our other committees can improve too. So that's the goal. We really want to all come together and get this figured out in the after action reporting. It's a great way to see where we are and where we need to be and how we improve together. If you're ever on a planning team for an exercise, make sure that you're actively engaged. It's very key in making sure that we improve more and continue to do so in the future, especially as part of our planning process. So I know there was a whole lot of that, and that was pretty quick. Do we have any questions from any of you about this presentation or what to expect?
Are we going to play in individual sections or just be part, or what do you?
Stephanie, I'm having a bit of trouble hearing you. It's cutting out. Is there any way I could get you to type your question into the chat?
Yeah, I'm hearing the same thing, and she's breaking up. So could you please jump into the chat and ask your question? So just press the chat button and type away. What are you wanting us to help with during the exercise? So Stephanie, the table captains play a crucial role in ensuring that everyone around the table has a chance to chime in and offer some perspective as to the way they see something happening. And so we're going to be talking about flooding, and flooding affects each of our sections of extension a little bit differently. So what would be the concerns from your perspective that you would bring in? So it's not necessarily a story time where we're sitting around saying, okay, one time at band camp, this happened, and you go into a 20-minute discussion. It's basically short little, I call them elevator snips of what the major concerns would be around the table, and how would you handle the situation, what kind of things and so they would add on to each other as we went around. Are we table captains? If you wish to be a table captain, send me your email. You will be getting something from me, and we're actually going to have a little primer on table captains and what we're going to expect on Thursday. And Ann, correct me if I'm right or wrong. It was 1 o'clock Eastern.
I believe so.
Okay, 1 o'clock Eastern. Where we're going to have that, and is again a very short meeting. Okay, I'll put that into the chat. So we have a little rubric for the table captains, as long as I am also sending out the guidance. And what did we call that thing? That was the the manual that we're going to have for
Situation manual.
Thank you, situation manual for that, so that the table captains can be pre-primed so they know what's coming. So they may have questions in the back of their minds that they might want to use to help spike the discussion.
Right. I think that's a great idea. And again, as far as the table captains, that they can go through, and the key thing for the table captains is to review the questions that are laid out by module. And those are the questions that you're gonna ask the folks in the room. So that should make it pretty easy for you, and just try to capture as much of the information that is provided. Greg, I think somebody will be there to help capture that at the tables, or
Yeah, we're gonna have a
Yeah.
table scribe too. So
Yeah.
one of the persons that has the best penmanship certainly could take notes there. So yeah, so the team captain is basically there to help facilitate the discussion. So if we're sitting around the table, I would say, okay, Anne, what did you think about this? What was the critical issue? Or I'll go around and ask, Michelle, we haven't heard from you yet. What do you think about this? What do you see as a problem or an issue? How would you handle that? Because we all come to this differently. Some of us are county-based, some of us are state-based, some of us work very intensely with our state directions. All of those things kind of give us a different, I think it's a unique opportunity to see the whole dimension from top to bottom as to what's going on. And so, yeah, and in fact, we both need we need extension both at the state level and at the local level, because there's some resources, for example, that need to be identified at the local county level that our county-based agents are really adept at finding. And then the statewide agents help with the bigger picture issues.
And I think the key to remember that is just operate as how you would when you
Yeah,
come from your jurisdiction, your extension system. So if you're
yeah,
a
your
county
perspective.
agent, be a county agent. If you are um, emergency coordinating officer for the state and you're in the state EOC, be that person. Whatever you're supposed to do, be that person. And grab from that perspective as to your area of knowledge. And Stephanie, I see you asked the question, what day is the training? It's on that Friday morning, the last day of the conference. Oh wait, that was for the table captain training, correct?
Table captains on Thursday afternoon
Yeah.
at 1 p.m. Eastern,
Uh-huh.
12 Central.
Okay. So that's the day before the actual exercise at the
11 Mountain.
Yes.
No, this Thursday by Zoom.
Oh, this Thursday, excuse
By
me.
Zoom, and I'll be
Excuse me.
sending stuff out to people. So yes, that way you'll have a week's time to review.
I'm sorry, I was going through, there are many questions, but they're kind of spread out in the chat, so.
Yes, yes, yes. So yes, everybody has their own base of knowledge, and that's important because what you know of is unique to you, but it's also unique to us, and it's nice that you can give us a perspective. For example, I was at a tabletop that we were discussing busing in evacuating people from a hotel and motel. And someone very clearly came up with the idea, well, some people might be in wheelchairs, some people may not be ambulatory. Are all of our buses able to handle wheelchair passengers? So that ended up making a discussion at the county level to make sure we understand what is a bus and what type of buses do we really need. So just having one person with a different perspective actually helped the whole group think about that. So now it's written into the plan. If you need a bus, you need to tell us what kind of bus do you need. Not all buses are the same. And thanks for putting this together. This is a good primer as to what's going on. I'm kind of curious
Absolutely.
to people on the call, how many of you have actually gone through a tabletop before? You can actually raise your hand by hitting the react button and raise your hand. Look at that.
All right.
So we have one, two, 3, 4.
I'm driving me.
Okay, that's fine. 5. So 5 out of the 12, about half of us have gone through a tabletop exercise before. Yeah. I'm forced to do this because I'm only 5 miles away from 3 Mile Island. And so we have to do nuclear tabletop exercises to prove our ability to warn people and evacuate people. So something probably the similar with you folks, especially in the Gulf states.
Yes, we have to do the same here in Mississippi with our nuclear station. And we, of course, do hurricane,
Right.
tornado. I mean, we do the full gambit here. We've got a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And the crazy thing is that with the nuclear thing, it starts with a small incident at the plant, and then it goes all the way up to full meltdown in the course of 2 hours. So you're running pretty fast, and
yes,
it's crazy, but it's something that we need to practice, just like a fire department. You want people to practice so that they know which end of the hose to hold, and that's important.
that's right. So I mean, it's good. I think this exercise will be great for all those in Eden who have never participated in one. As far as a tabletop exercise, it'll get them familiar with the documents and the format of it. And it makes it a lot easier when you go through it at Eden if you've never been through it before in your county, because the structure is going to remain the same. So that'll give you a good foundation to work from. Once you go through it, you'll kind of remember what to expect, and how it worked and how it functioned. So that's really what we want to do is, one is familiarity. Two is, what can we learn from each other? What's everybody else doing? How's it working? And what can we do to improve back home? Those sorts of things. You may learn new stuff that worked well in another jurisdiction and it's similar to yours and you want to try to make it work there. Um, so that's good. You may learn new information. Happens to me all the time. So I think that's a great thing.
Sarah, I see you have your hand still up. Did you have a question?
No, I didn't. Didn't take
Okay. Okay. I'll help you lower it. Oh, very well. There was a question, Ann, about sharing this with the Nebraska Eden team. Are we able to access it?
I think so. I believe we did record it. The Extension Foundation will have it, and I'm sure they'll put it on the YouTube channel.
Perfect. Yeah, we're still recording.
Are there any other questions? All right. Well, I want to thank all of you for taking the time out of your day um, to learn more about this topic. And I hope it was helpful for you and helpful in getting you ready to come to the annual meeting and learning more about your plans. And I look forward to how this turns out. I know Greg's going to do a great job of leading us at annual conference. And if, like I said, if there's anything I can do to help you, please feel free to reach out to me, Greg, or Kimberly. And we'll be happy to help you any way we can.